I woke up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would burst through my chest. For several terrifying seconds, I couldn't move. The room was silent except for the slow ticking of the old wall clock and the faint hum of traffic somewhere far beyond the apartment window. My body was covered in cold sweat. A nightmare had dragged me out of sleep, but what truly froze me was what I saw when I opened my eyes. Someone was sleeping next to me. The pale moonlight spilling through the curtains revealed the outline of a person lying on the other side of my bed. And I lived alone. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected ways life can change a person forever, please take a moment to like this video, comment below, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Ancient Truth. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts around the world. I stared at the figure, unable to breathe. Every horror story I had ever heard rushed through my mind. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. The front door had been locked. No one should have been there. My hand slowly reached toward the lamp beside the bed. The moment the light flooded the room, I almost screamed. It was my roommate. Or at least, the man who had been my roommate almost 2 years earlier. His name was Corwin Hale. He looked thinner than I remembered. His dark hair had grown longer. His face carried a sadness that hadn't existed when we last saw each other. Yet there was no doubt it was him. But that was impossible. Because Corwin had disappeared 18 months ago without warning. Back then, we shared a small apartment while attending college in the city. We weren't best friends, but life had pushed us together. I was quiet and focused on work. Corwin was outgoing, always smiling, always helping strangers. Somehow we balanced each other. Then one afternoon he simply vanished. No note. No explanation. No phone call. His family searched everywhere. The police investigated. Months passed without answers. Eventually everyone assumed he had chosen to leave and start over somewhere else. Everyone except me. I had spent countless nights wondering what happened to him. And now he was asleep in my bed as though no time had passed. I sat frozen. The light hadn't even woken him. He looked exhausted. Not the kind of exhaustion that comes from missing sleep. The kind that comes from carrying pain for far too long. I should have called the police. I should have demanded answers. Instead, I sat there watching him breathe. Something inside me said this wasn't a threat. This was a person who had reached the end of a very long road. Eventually his eyes opened. For a moment he seemed confused. Then he looked at me. A wave of emotion crossed his face. Not fear. Not anger. Relief. The kind of relief someone feels after surviving a storm they thought would never end. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. The silence felt heavier than words. The first rays of dawn began creeping through the curtains. Outside, birds started singing. The world was waking up. And somehow everything was changing. That morning, Corwin finally told me the truth. The story began shortly after he disappeared. His father had suffered a devastating financial collapse. Debts piled up. Threats followed. Corwin discovered people were targeting his family, demanding money they didn't have. Afraid his younger sister would become involved, he made a reckless decision. He left. Not because he wanted freedom. Because he thought he could protect the people he loved. He traveled from city to city taking temporary jobs. Construction sites. Farms. Warehouses. Anywhere that paid enough to send money home anonymously. He never contacted anyone because he feared being traced. At first he believed he would return after a few months. Months became years. The longer he stayed away, the harder it became to come back. Shame grew inside him. He felt he had abandoned everyone. He convinced himself no one wanted to see him again. As Corwin spoke, I noticed tears gathering in his eyes. The confident young man I remembered was gone. Life had worn him down. The world had taught him painful lessons. And yet somehow he had survived. The apartment felt different after that conversation. The sunlight pouring through the windows seemed warmer. The air felt lighter. For the first time in years, Corwin wasn't running. He stayed. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, he began rebuilding his life. It wasn't easy. Many people were angry. His family struggled to forgive him. Friends had moved on. Opportunities disappeared. Everywhere he looked were reminders of lost time. I watched him face each challenge. I watched him apply for jobs and get rejected. I watched him sit alone at the kitchen table staring at old photographs. I watched him wrestle with regret. There were nights when he seemed ready to leave again. Nights when guilt threatened to swallow him whole. But something remarkable happened. Little by little, people began giving him second chances. His mother answered his calls. His sister met him for coffee. Old classmates welcomed him back. The wounds weren't magically healed. But they started healing. And healing, I learned, is often messy. One afternoon, several months later, Corwin found work at a community center helping disadvantaged teenagers. At first it was temporary. Then it became permanent. The job changed him. Many of the teenagers came from difficult backgrounds. Some had lost parents. Some struggled with homelessness. Some felt abandoned by the world. Corwin understood those feelings better than anyone. He wasn't teaching them from a textbook. He was teaching them from experience. Every day he showed up. Every day he listened. Every day he reminded someone that their mistakes didn't define their future. Watching him was like watching a broken bridge slowly rebuilt piece by piece. One particular teenager named Yarek stood out. Yarek was angry at everyone. Teachers. Parents. Friends. The entire world. Most people had given up on him. Corwin didn't. He stayed patient. Week after week. Month after month. Eventually Yarek opened up. For the first time, someone had chosen not to walk away. Years later, Yarek would graduate and become a counselor himself. And he always credited Corwin for changing his life. But the most powerful moment came nearly 3 years after that strange night when I woke at 3 a.m. The community center organized a charity event. Hundreds of people attended. Families filled the hall. Children laughed. Volunteers rushed around carrying supplies. Corwin stood on stage preparing to speak. I sat near the back of the room. As he stepped toward the microphone, the audience grew quiet. The man standing there looked nothing like the broken stranger who had appeared in my apartment years earlier. He looked stronger. Healthier. At peace. He began talking about mistakes. About fear. About running away. About regret. The room listened in complete silence. Then he said something I'll never forget. He explained that people often think redemption happens in a single dramatic moment. But real redemption happens one day at a time. One apology. One decision. One act of courage. One second chance. Over and over again. I looked around the room. Many people were crying. Not because his story was tragic. Because it was hopeful. Because everyone carries regrets. Everyone has things they wish they could undo. And everyone secretly wonders whether it's too late to start over. Corwin proved it wasn't. The applause that followed seemed endless. For the first time, I truly understood what had happened that night. I had believed the miracle was finding my missing roommate sleeping beside me. But that wasn't the miracle. The miracle was everything that happened afterward. The forgiveness. The growth. The healing. The lives changed because one person refused to stay lost forever. Today, years later, the old apartment is gone. The building was renovated. The furniture disappeared. Life moved forward. Yet sometimes I still wake during the night. The room is dark. The world is quiet. And I remember that moment. The moment fear became understanding. The moment a mystery became a story. The moment a lost man found his way home. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that no matter how far they've fallen, there is always a path back. Your engagement helps spread stories of hope to people who may desperately need them today. And before we reach the ending, I have a special request. Comment below, everyone deserves a second chance. Because sometimes a simple sentence can remind someone not to give up on themselves. The greatest lesson I learned from Corwin wasn't about disappearance or mystery. It was about humanity. We often imagine that strength means never breaking. But real strength is standing up after life breaks you. It's admitting mistakes. It's facing consequences. It's choosing to become better than yesterday. That night at 3 a.m. could have become a frightening memory. Instead, it became the beginning of one of the most meaningful chapters of my life. Whenever I think about second chances now, I don't picture grand speeches or dramatic victories. I picture a tired man sleeping peacefully after years of running. A man who thought he had lost everything. A man who discovered that sometimes the people waiting for you aren't waiting to judge you. They're waiting to welcome you home. And perhaps that's the most beautiful truth of all. No matter how dark the road becomes, no matter how many wrong turns you've taken, no matter how long you've been lost, hope has a way of finding you when you least expect it. Sometimes it arrives in broad daylight. Sometimes it arrives through the kindness of strangers. And sometimes, it arrives at 3 a.m., when you wake up and realize that the person sleeping next to you isn't a ghost from the past. It's proof that even the most broken stories can still have a beautiful ending.